Vienna, Austria, Avalanche, and from Dresden in Germany, Shooter Schulz. Together, they are blown up.
The big man is in there! The Avalanche! Shooter is out!
Look at the Avalanche! Look at the power of this! Look at the
This is Blown Up. Imagine a world in 2018 where Tyler Colton is wrestling Leon Vergasterin in the Markthalle in Hamburg, following up matches against Jürgen Simmons, Absolute Andy, Carnage, Emil Zitocci, Alexander James, and also Killer Kelly. This fall, the Canadian Hercules returned to Germany to Gifhorn and Dresden. Ladies and gentlemen, Tyler Colton at Blown Up.
Hello and welcome everybody, episode 33 of the Blown Up podcast. My name is Avalanche, aka Robert Dreisker, and with me in lovely Dresden, attending a Lucky Kid wrestling seminar, Shooter Schulz.
Yes, but we're not really attending, we're just sitting here watching some rookies and people from all around Germany getting taught by one of the greats of this business, Lucky Kid, and at the moment they're just punching each other with very stiff elbows. Robert, we are here in Dresden and we're back with an English episode finally.
Yeah, finally, we made it happen, and I can already tell you that was a solid forearm.
That was really solid form. Great
We
counter.
had a great talk with a very solid guy, I would say, in Tyler Colton.
Nice transition right here.
Yeah.
Yes, because who's also here is the Canadian Hercules, Tyler Colton. Some of you know him from the last time when he was here with WXW. Some of you know him from the OWE shows over in China. Some of you know him from CWE in Canada. One of the traveling guys, one of the old school guys in the business, I want to say.
One of the dying breed.
Yeah. The last of a dying breed.
I would say let's stop making shitty jokes and let's just fade over to the great conversation we had with him.
Yes, let's do that. Have fun with the conversation we just had with Tyler Colton. Enjoy. So, that's it. We're sitting here in Dresden, right before the, how was it called? PRO Wrestling Deutschland kickoff show. With us is, of course, Robert Dreisker. Hello, Robert.
Hello, it's nice to be here again.
Woo. And our guest today, the great Tyler Colton.
It's very nice to be here for me too, yes.
So, Tyler, you didn't know we had a podcast, right?
I think I actually heard that before. I feel like I had that.
Really?
I feel like I must have known for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why I knew that, but I feel like I did.
Because of urine or something?
Maybe because it's a huge podcast. I don't know.
It's actually not.
To be honest, like we had Dr. Tom Pritchett on the show, so maybe that made waves,
Yeah,
but
no.
It actually did not make waves at all.
Dr. Tom's not over anymore, man.
No, he should be
but
though.
he's still the man. So.
He is, of course he is. Yeah,
Have you ever met him?
No, I've never really been in an encounter with him actually, but he's a guy that, there's a guy in the States that comes up to Canada every once in a while who's like done a lot of training with him, and so he passes a lot of that information that he gives to me, or to him, to us, and it's all genius, it's all brilliant, even from second and third hand, you know what I mean?
Who's that guy?
Sigmund he's from Tennessee. He's a little short guy with this big alien head. He's really, really good though. He's really great. He looks like a midget, but he's great.
I think I've never heard that name before. Should look that up.
Yeah, he's one of those kind of like old school, like he's part of a tag team and they travel all around, and he's an old school mentality guy, but still very exciting to watch and fun.
I think there's a lot of guys who are actually really good, but internationally you've never really heard of them.
Sure.
Like, can you drop a few more names? Because I thought I've seen tag match lately where funny because Dr. Tom was involved in that as well, and I didn't remember I don't remember the names, but it was Dr. Tom and a guy against Jerry Lawler and a guy, and the match was great, and the guys who were with them, like I've never heard of them before, but they looked like pretty much like TV ready, I would say, like they were just they looked great and they did great stuff, and I think there's a lot of guys out there.
Well, it's funny
people I've never heard of.
There is that disconnect too, where it's like even from Europe to here. Like when I was in high school, I watched WXW. So
really?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I was a huge indie fan when I was in high school. So I like.
When was that?
2007 or 8. I was probably.
Ooh, that's still a rough time.
Yeah, but I mean, like like Chris Hero was here, right? So that caught my eye immediately, and so I started watching that. And but it's amazing that when you start talking to guys or fans or whatever in Canada, where it's like, oh yeah, I've kind of heard of that. Like I know a little bit about that, but when you come here, it's a really big deal. You know what I mean? And vice versa too, where it's like we have amazing talents like in Canada, like Ethan Page and Josh Alexander and Tyson Dukes and stuff, and they're not really known over here. They're more just Canadian regional guys in that sense right now. But it's going to be, hopefully that'll be changing for them soon.
Actually, I like that idea that there's still those territories where we have like great wrestlers who nobody knows, because it gives it. Like there's still something to explore and like to discover out there.
Yeah, that's the thing with the internet. You feel like you know everything all the time, right? You know every possible name, but there still are guys out there that even in Western Canada too. Like we're even more secluded, and those guys are all in Toronto, and I'm from Western Canada, which is nobody's watching that stuff. So you really got to get the hell out of there. But there is a lot of talent that are kind of hidden away there.
I mean, you're also like not very well known over the road, I guess, right?
No.
But you're like a traveling man.
Yeah, well, I try to stay busy. Like I spend last year I spent almost 6 months traveling, like away from home, like touring.
You're known in China, though, right?
Yeah, I'm a little bit known in China. Yeah. I did so this year. I did OWE. I did 2 months there. Before whatever's happening there now, I'm not really sure what it is. Some sort of.
How was it over there? Because I've pretty much no clue about.
Like actually, how did it happen? You contacted them, or?
No, it's all. I mean, as with everything in wrestling, it's all very non-linear. Where we had a CWE tour that I did, which is like a big promotion in Canada in terms of Canadian wrestling. And
Norman Harris told us about it on this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So he knows all about the ups and downs of CWE. But we had a couple guys from DDT in, and then one of those guys from DDT went to OWE, and he contacted me and he said they want some big white guys, and I said I'm a big white guy, so they brought me over, and I did 2 months there, and it was. Like you said, Rob, you didn't know anything about China, and neither did I. So it was very, very eye-opening when I got there, and it was like I come here, and I'm like, oh, everything's so different, but it's not that different really. But you go to China, and everything is really, really different there. Like just the people and the food and the culture and everything is.
Did you tour there, or was it more like in one big city? I don't know. Are they in Shanghai or what?
They were stationed in Shanghai, and that's where we would do like a weekly dojo show, I guess you'd kind of call it. But even those were like 200 people, so they were pretty all right. And then they would fly us around to like different Chinese cities, and I wasn't there for it, but they'll fly you to like Taiwan, and they do Japanese tours and stuff like that too. But it was just when I was there, it was all localized within China, which is still like 12 hours away this way and 12 hours away that way. And luckily, there was all flights, but it was far.
Like a thing about China, I think is they are like cities with 12 million people living in there, and you never heard of them.
Never heard of it.
It's a giant city.
Yeah, and it's almost kind of like. It's kind of depressing, like right into those things. So you just see these non-stop like skyscrapers of apartments, just like one and another and another and another. And you're like, people live in all of those, and you know what I mean. And it's kind of crazy. But I remember we were driving in one in Chengdu, I think it was, and it was just like we're on the tour bus, and I'm like, it smells like human shit here. Like it smelled like it's and I kind of like tried to no sell it, and I was sitting there, and I was like, why does it smell so bad? So I punched into like my Google Translator app, and I was like, what's that smell? And the guy next to me was like, just the city. And I was like,
really?
And that's just what it is there. Like no one else is batting an eye, you know what I mean? So I was like, it's just this part of the city, and I was like, oh my god. So, but I mean, it's just a different place, right? It's whatever they're used to, I guess.
I watched some of those OWE shows they have on YouTube. It's not my kind of stuff, but
it wasn't mine either. But
I like some of those guys doing all this kung fu stuff.
Yeah,
it looks very movie-like.
Yeah,
so it's very well done.
Yeah, they were trying to do like a different style of thing, like try to really infuse like the Chinese culture of kung fu and like that whole like the movies and all that stuff. That like the guy who started OWE is like a movie producer, so there's a lot of money behind it and stuff, and that was the cool part about it. But it wasn't really my style either, and I even told the guy that too when they invited me over, and I was like, I hope you don't think that I can do that stuff because I can't. But he's like, no, that's not what we want. He's like, we were trying to kind of diversify and stuff because they all were trained at the same time. They were all brought in at the same time, and they're all wrestle the exact same way.
They need somebody doing a shock slam.
Well, exactly. Yeah, none of those guys are doing it, so it's just they all can do these amazing things. But when everyone can do it, it kind of doesn't really matter anymore. Yeah. You know what I mean? So.
But what I liked was like the audience, because it was just regular people who looked like going out there.
Well, that's what it was. It was I was surprised there was a lot of Westerners there.
Oh.
Because it was just like kind of like they were working in Shanghai or whatever, and it's just like something to do on a Saturday night. Go check out some wrestling. I see you're looking at Cage Match. You won't find anything from me on Cage Match there. There's
a bunch of stuff.
Okay, I was gonna say Western Canada is not. I don't think it's on the radar there, but.
Is Cage Match a thing in Canada?
Yeah, we know. Like we're aware of it and we use it and stuff sometimes, but I think that we're more aware of them than they are. But,
so you motherfuckers out there, get Western Canada on it.
Yeah. But I remember when I was like 2 years in, I was like, holy shit, I'm on this website. Like that's so cool. Like, and we know about that one. But
I'm really happy the website exists because honestly, I don't write down any stuff, which I kind of regret, but. At some points when you like scroll through it and then you have like those little memories coming back.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think about a certain match until you like read it again. Oh shit, yeah, that was cool. Or oh shit, that was horrible.
They had a picture. That was horrible. They had a picture of me when I was like 19 on there for like it might still be that for like the longest time. It was just skinny little me on there. So I was like, I don't know who talked to that, but like shit.
Like when did you start?
So I was training in 2009 and then I debuted in 2010.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Like you had like a background in powerlifting or something like that, or strongman stuff, or came that later?
The competitive strongman stuff came afterwards. I played hockey like every Canadian kid, right? And did jiu-jitsu, but the strongman thing kind of came afterwards, and that was sort of when I started morphing my wrestling style to be a little more like power-based stuff too.
Yeah.
I used to my trainer was my trainer was trained in CMLL, so he's like a lucha guy. So I was doing a lot of surprisingly enough, I was doing a lot of that stuff when I first started, and then I was like, I'm gonna stop doing that stuff. And kind of geared it towards more just like a power-based thing, but that's what I did for the first maybe 2-3 years.
Somebody in China saw it and was like, we want that.
Yeah, exactly. And then I showed up all big and fat, and they're like, oh crap.
Ah, shit.
What I see here is that in 2012 you actually had a match that involved Doink the Clown.
Oh, well, certainly a guy dressed like Doink the Clown. That's that's for sure.
Because that would have been my next question.
Somebody definitely bought the costume, that's for sure.
All right. So it wasn't actually. It was none of the.
It wasn't like Matt Bourne or Brooklyn Brawler or anything like that. No.
But generally, I heard a lot from Norman that there are sometimes with CWE they taking like legends or like old school guys with them.
That's the thing is that CWE is like they do these cross Canada tours, and they'll always have like. A drawing, like a legend, maybe say you said like Jake the Snake Roberts or Brutus Beefcake or whatever it might be. Somebody that the older fans will be like, oh cool, let's check that out. And then what they also do is now it's become such a huge thing. It's like 30 shows in 30 days or something crazy like that. So you can't get that anywhere. So like I'm not even sure if WWE runs like that crazy anymore. So that draws a lot of attention from some top like indie guys and stuff too. Like we get a lot of Ring of Honor guys coming through. Like the Kingdom are regulars there now. Jimmy Jacobs are regular there now. So it's kind of cool in that sense. You get to meet these and work with these guys who are just immensely talented and do 30 days in a row with them. And like a guy like Norman is I'm sure can attest to how much better he's gotten in just that short period of time.
How demanding is it to like have a 30-day tour and work every day and have like those horrible long road trips?
That's the hardest part is like the driving in between, because it's like you get up, you got to drive to whatever town it is, you set up, you wrestle, and then there's usually like a sponsored after party that everybody has to go to because that's part of like everybody getting paid, you know what I mean? So you got to do that for a few hours, and then hopefully you get a few hours of sleep before you just do it all again the next day. And it's super taxing. Like it's like, you have obviously you kind of are aware that you have to do it for 30 days, so you try to kind of, like just check your style a little bit so that you can't go 100% balls to the wall 30 days in a row. You just can't do it. You know what I mean? So you'd be like, okay, well,
You can.
Who's my opponent tonight? Where are we at? You know what I mean? Like, what do they need to be entertained? Because maybe it's not, a WrestleMania main event. Maybe it's a little more kind of Mid-South style.
I guess it helps that you're probably not the kind of guy who's taking all the bumps in the match.
It helps until I have to get in the back of the car, and then you got to pay for it in some way or another.
Yeah, that's true. Everything's coming back.
Norman's the same way, I'm sure, too. He's a big, tall guy. I'm sure he hates that shit.
Oh, there's a nice one right here. Tyler Colton defeated Silas Young.
Oh yeah, no, Silas. He's an example of one of those guys that come through for those long tours, and he was a guy that was just like he was the man on those tours because he would come in every night and just work with wrestle guys who maybe weren't the top guys and have these phenomenal matches with them, and he's so talented and just like such a great guy to have to watch your matches and give you feedback afterwards. I can't say enough good things about Silas. He brought better matches out of me. Like John Gresham was a guy that was on those tours too, and him and Silas both just like really helped in a very short period of time make me a lot better wrestler just on those tours.
How did you get to meet John Gresham? Because I think that he was kind of who built the bridge for you to come into WXW,
he was
right?
Absolutely the catalyst. Yeah. So he came and did a tour, and we just sort of got along. Like we both care a lot about wrestling, and that's a good medium to find. And he watched my matches and he gave me feedback and stuff, and he kind of let me know that he was trying to start something that was his back to basics camps, which was you go and do a tryout and a bunch of guys are there and they pick somebody to go overseas to WXW, and I thought I'd be a fool not to take advantage of that. So I went and at the very least it's a seminar with John Gresham, and he had like Rhett Titus there and somebody else I forget, but it was a really good camp without the tryout. So I went and did that, and I was lucky enough to get picked, and then that brought me over here, and I guess I made the right friends, and now I'm back again.
Or maybe you just did a good job.
Maybe it's that. I don't know. But Gresham was a guy like, I think to anybody who knows Gresham or like has wrestled with him or been around him or whatever can attest that like he'll make you a better wrestler in like a matter of minutes. You know what I mean? It feels like sometimes like he's so talented and such an eye for things that he'll pick out things that you just never even thought about, you know. That's what I found with him.
Have you wrestled him?
I never did. Nope, I never had a match with him, but he watched all my matches on that tour and took the video and picked everything apart and stuff, so yeah.
That's cool. Have you wrestled him?
Gresham? I wrestled him in tag team matches like 1 or 2 times, and I had one singles match with him, but that's like already that was like 2013 or something. So like I enjoyed that, but I would really like to have a match today, and like today especially, but I would really like to work him with my on the level where I'm right now.
Can you elaborate why today specifically?
Yeah, please do. Because there will not be another cut. So when do you think for you found your niche or your style or your, I don't know how to call it?
You know, honestly, when I started doing strongman, I took a break, but really it was like a month and a half. But for some guys, that's just like a regular schedule. But like it felt like a long time without wrestling because I was just kind of focusing on, maybe it was closer to 2 months, but focusing on strongman because it was easy to be kind of like okay at both and then not good at either one. You know what I mean? Because you gotta get kind of like big and fat for strongman and stuff, and conditioning is not a situation with that at all. So, but I found that when I kind of took that time away and came back, like it sort of gave me like a different perspective on wrestling. That I was like, oh, I can kind of have more fun with this. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what it was that changed, but something sort of made me realize that it's like I don't have to be this like uptight, like trying to take things so seriously in the ring and everything. You know what I mean? I found a looseness that I feel has probably helped me a lot actually, and also like not trying to be. Like I don't want to be like old Brian Danielson anymore, and I don't want to be like Davey Richards in Ring of Honor anymore. It's like I found something that's more comfortable with for me, I think.
But I think for guys with your kind of style, it's harder to get like over in the indies, right? Because like you're a solid big guy,
yeah,
but you're not doing the crazy shit.
And that's kind of the thing too, is that you got to find a way to make it interesting. You know what I mean? Like
That's why the red tail.
That's why the red tail. But like having said that, like it's just even looking at a guy like Robbie, there's not a lot of guys that are built like him anymore. You know what I mean? There's a lot of cruiserweights in wrestling.
Well, there's Rainer Ringer. He's built like.
Yeah, there's.
I mean, we have heavyweight referees.
Yeah. We're going that way.
Yeah, we have a real like. It's funny that we still see like cruiserweight tournaments and cruiserweight shows and stuff because everybody's a fucking cruiserweight, you know what I mean? But there's very few like real genuine heavyweights and super heavyweights
Yeah.
that are doing a style like and not doing cruiserweight style in a heavyweight body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's something that I kind of try to do, and I like seeing that there are other guys who are kind of doing the same thing too, and not having to do like, we get it. You can do a cool athletic move. That's great, but it's like do some cool heavyweight shit too. You know what I mean? So yeah.
So how was it then in China with those guys?
It was fun, but it was like the wrestling part was cool. Like the living there was kind of challenging, just because, like, I don't know, I'm Canadian. Like I'm used to like people being polite and friendly and stuff, and that's not what they are in China, right? It's just a cultural thing. Like they just don't really give a shit. They don't have time for you. You know what I mean? But the wrestling was cool. It was challenging though, because they're a mile a minute. You know what I mean? And sometimes to a detriment. You know what I mean? So you got to kind of slow them down a little bit. You know what I mean? But it was cool to have an opportunity to kind of like work with guys who were so brand new, but still so talented that you could just say something to them and they would be like, they'd pick it up like that right away. They would just figure it out and have it worked out in their head right away.
Didn't they cast some of those guys even? Wasn't
They're
like the
all
stuntmen and what? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
none of them watch wrestling or know about wrestling or like wrestling. It's just a job to them. It would be like if they offered you an acting gig. It's like, well, I don't really know anything about acting, but I'll do it. You know what I mean? Because why wouldn't you, right? So it's the same thing with them too. Where I wrestled one of their guys, and he was talking to him afterwards, whatever, and I was like, it was good, but you could get a little more emotion, energy, kind of fire. You know what I mean? I was like, maybe think about like when I'm punching you, like Hogan. You know what I mean? Where he's blah blah blah. No clue. No clue who fucking Hulk Hogan was. Like and that's when I was like, oh, okay. So this is like, I gotta find a new way to relate to these guys because they're not gonna be able to talk about wrestling at all. If they don't know who that is, they don't know who anybody is, right? So they knew who The Rock was because he's a movie star. That's it. So it was a weird thing to be with guys who didn't like. Can you think of anybody in pro wrestling who's not like a huge fan growing up and like did it because they love it so much that even like maybe they shouldn't have, but they wanted to get involved. You know what I mean? Like I've never seen it before where guys are like dragged in. Like I don't really want to do this, but it's like it's an opportunity to make money, so whatever. Like you don't see that very often.
So I guess, or I could imagine that you also had like kind of a like rough time there because. Normally, like, how should I say, like, if you have nothing in common, but you have, like, the love for wrestling you have in common with with people, but with that missing, I could see the point of where it gets really tough to get a connection to.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
The guys.
There was, like, 2 guys there who watched wrestling on their own time, and so those are 2 guys immediately, like you said, I bonded with them immediately and became friends with them, and I still am right now. But it's just, like you said, without having that what do you call it? Like just some sort of connection to make. It's really, really difficult. But luckily I was staying in there was like the Chinese guy apartment and there was the foreigner apartments. So we were staying with all like I was staying with the American guys and the Taiwanese guys, and they were all big wrestling fans. So we would sit and watch wrestling at night and we'd have things to do. But it was challenging to get to know those guys, and also the language barrier was huge. Like I came here and everybody speaks English. Everybody who's involved in wrestling speaks English. I don't think I've met a single person here who doesn't speak English. So I was like, it'll be that way everywhere. Why wouldn't it be that way everywhere? And then I went to China and nobody spoke English. Like there was one office guy and 2 wrestlers who had a little bit of a handle on English. They were teaching themselves. That was just all it was. Yeah. So it was that made it really challenging too, because it's like, you Google Translate, but like you can't have a conversation that way. You know what I mean? So.
But did they at least had like the wrestling English kind of stuff?
No. Nothing.
So they had their own names for moves and shit.
So this look was a hot schwa.
Yeah, exactly. And like they like.
Okay.
That's actually exactly what it was. No, that's not racist. That's exactly what it was. So if I like they didn't know like dock, clothesline, boots, nothing. Like none of those. Just like even if you wrestle a Japanese guy who knows next to no English or a Spanish guy or Mexican guy, sorry, they'd know those words. You know what I mean? And they didn't know any of those words. So I was like. That was something that I did. I was like, let's all sit down and I'll just bring your notebooks and I'll just tell you all the words that I think you need to know for this. And so that's just like any little bit that I could do to help them, I tried to do. You know what I mean? Like they got the physical stuff down. They just need to learn the mental stuff behind it,
Yeah, that would be good, I guess, at some point. Like also like duck the clothes like BAM!
Yeah, well,
oh fuck, sorry.
And that was the thing too, is like, do you guys try to keep kayfabe on this thing, or is it kind of like
Okay,
whatever? Okay, so it's like if things start to change in the match or whatever, like you can't talk to them about that. Like you just have to go through with the exact dance routine that you came up with, because you can't deviate from it, because you can't tell them anything. You know what I mean? And if you start trying to change things, then whatever, like they'll just panic and they don't know what to do. You know what I mean? So it kind of sucks the fun out of it a little bit in that sense. Like luckily I ended up working with a couple of guys who spoke a little bit of English, and some of the American guys and stuff. So that's whatever, that's fine. But
Who were the other American guys?
there's a guy named Bufa who was there, who's like, he's a really interesting guy. Yes, he's an interesting guy too, where he's lived in Asia for I think almost 10 years now.
Okay.
And he's just made a living in wrestling there. He moved there from New York. He went to Japan for a few years, and now he's in China, and he went to Hong Kong, and he's in Korea. He just goes everywhere, and he makes a living off of wrestling. And I just think that's such an interesting journeyman story that you don't really hear anymore. Where it was like, he's like, I've been wrestling for 10 years and making a living for the whole time. It's crazy, you know what I mean? But he was one of the guys, and there was a bunch of Taiwanese guys.
Crazy, and also if you would tell me, I would say I'm not sure if that's even possible.
That's exactly, yeah, that's what I mean too. To be so under the radar is so interesting. But it's like Chinese wrestling it hasn't broken through to the point where people give a shit, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just you see those OWE clips of some of the stuff on Twitter and shit. That's why I knew about it. Yeah. But until they kind of partnered with AEW, nobody really gave a fuck about what they were doing, you know. But who else was there? There was all the Taiwanese guys, and then there was George, who was a guy he's a relatively new dude from New York as well. But there was nobody really that was a name dude, I don't think. SCU was there the week before I got there. Yeah. So but they were in and out. They did a show and they were in and out, and nobody knew who, none of the roster or office knew who they were. So it was just
cool.
Yeah. So it was it was like that. It was just somebody told me that it was they came in and someone came to them and was like, should they be in the main event? I was like, yeah. So that's just kind of how things are there, where it's they just don't know, you know what I mean?
On the other hand,
you're trying to run a dance school. It's I don't know what the fuck is good, you know what I mean?
On the other hand, should they be on the main event if even maybe the crowd don't know who they are?
The crowd did know. It's just the office.
Well, that's even better.
Yeah, it's just the office. I finally met the second last day that I was there. I met the booker. Because I was very confused by some of the booking choices that were being made. And I was just I would love to meet this person and just ask them what their thought process is on some of this stuff. And I found out that it was just this small Chinese woman who the only wrestling that she'd ever watched was shows that she had booked. And she was just an office worker who was just book the shows while you're over there. Do this too while you're doing your other work. So that's all of a sudden it just a light came up and I was like, oh, this all makes perfect sense now. I get it. I totally get this now.
I love it's the exact opposite of how it's been somewhere else, where it's just fans who want to be bookers.
Exactly.
And that's it.
No, exactly. People who don't give a shit about wrestling. It's amazing. And like I said, it was just I wish that I'd known that the first day. And then I could have been oh, I get what this is now. I could have had a little more fun with it, I think, instead of just being frustrated. What the fuck are they doing with me? I don't get it. I'll tag with the guy, and then I'll be against him, and then I'll tag against him, and it's just what the hell?
At least you got the conclusion before you left.
Yeah, the closure, absolutely. Yeah. Very
it
true.
all makes sense now.
Yeah, that's how it felt. It was just oh man, I can close this chapter, the OWE chapter of my life, and kind of have an understanding oh, it's just stupid. Okay, that's now I get it.
It's when you were here the last time with WXW, who did you work with here? I remember because we had 1 weekend together. You worked with Toby, I think.
Mm-hmm. Toby Blunt Manticore. I did 2 matches with him and Leon Van Gasteren.
Yes.
That was my first match here.
How was that?
It's good. Yeah, we did Hamburg. It was
cool.
Dead End, and I think Dead End.
Yeah.
I think it was Dead End, and it was a big show, a really big show, and it was fun. And I'm trying to think who else I had. I think I had
Andy.
Yes, absolute Andy.
It was an Andy match?
Yeah, in
Bielefeld.
I think. Yeah. That was on his way to the Carrot tournament. That was one of his his warm-up matches, and I believe there's one more.
I think there's another Toby Blunt match.
I had him twice in a row, and there was one other person I thought, but I might be mixing it up. But I did Pro Wrestling Holland while I was here too. That was a fun one too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, you wrestled Jörn.
That's right. I wrestled Jörn. That's exactly what I wrestled. And I did Wrestle Call too.
How could you forget about Jörn?
I don't know. Actually, you kicked me in the jaw so hard you think I remember that, but
maybe that's the reason why you should.
Maybe
in your mind you were thinking I think I wrestled Batista. Can't really be
I want to say that. Yeah.
I want to say we're Batista, but doesn't make
2006 Batista, but that's strange. That makes sense. And then I did Wrestle Call too, and I wrestled Carnage at Wrestle Call.
How was that?
Great.
I haven't seen Dominic for a long time, but I can imagine it was great.
Chip in the tooth there.
But he didn't do a kick.
Yes.
obviously he did a kick. Why wouldn't he not do a
Good
kick?
kick, yeah.
Speaking about greats, because I just turned on the Cage Match DE machine again. You wrestled Too Cold Scorpio in 2018.
Yeah,
What?
I did. Yeah, I did.
That's
was
amazing.
Yeah, it was awesome. He was
Like, he's almost like on an absolute Andy level of
yeah, he came and did
experience.
he came and did a tour with us, and like he did the oh no, you know what it was somebody, I think that might have been the tour that somebody had to bail halfway through, and then he came and picked up the slack, and I got the opportunity to wrestle him in Thunder Bay, which is like a really good wrestling town in Canada, in Western Canada. And he was dope, man. He was really cool. He was doing like crazy shit, like moonsaults and like big like leg drops and stuff. It was awesome.
It's crazy, and it's always kind of crazy because right here it says like he made his debut in 1987. That's like 2 years before I was born.
Isn't that weird to think about what was happening in wrestling in '87, and then also Too Cold Scorpio was there. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to imagine that. I was thinking about that too when we just had Super Crazy in Winnipeg. And he debuted like in the 80s as well, I believe. Like he debuted like when he was like 15 or something, right? Yeah. But it's just like it's so weird to think that he's been like all the eras of wrestling that he's been through. You know what I mean? And like, but
so out of time for some reason, like Too Cold Scorpio too.
Yeah,
they're not part of the like they're not 80s or 90s wrestlers. Like just they're there. They're doing their shit for 30 years now.
He's and Super Crazy's still amazing too. He came in for us and he was fantastic. He was tearing that place up.
Yeah, Super Crazy was here in WXW for a couple of times as well.
Yeah.
And I think I always enjoyed watching him, but I've always been kind of a Super Crazy fan ever since, because I don't know, I was just impressed by the crazy stuff he did.
He's fucking super crazy.
He's super crazy. He's crazy. He's super crazy. He still moves super well. He's like 48 or something like that, and he's been wrestling for like I said, like 30 years or whatever the hell it is. Like but he still moves so well. He's always taking good care of himself. Like he's just, you never know he's that old. That's for sure.
I think would always like. I was also part of a Super Crazy seminar, by the way.
And you see it every day in the ring.
Yeah. Yeah, you can definitely tell. Right there. You can definitely tell the influence. I mean, no, but like what? Wow, didn't see that coming. No, but what I wanted to say, like Super Crazy, because he's not the youngest anymore as well, but he still does like all those moonsault variation, like it is in his DNA.
Yeah, it's just built into him. Yeah.
Also, I think it's nice of him not to bump on his back. So
doing
all the front bumps as possible.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna bump on my back, so I just
do
the
moonsault.
Whip my knees to the ground as hard as I can. That's a.
Have you ever done a moonsault?
I can do a moonsault. Yeah,
really?
Absolutely, yeah.
So you're doing one today?
Let's
see, guys.
Let's see if it fits in.
Yeah, we'll see if it fits in the match or not. I don't want to just like push my shit in there if it's not going to work.
Push the fucking moonsault in there.
Yeah, we'll see. See, you know what sucks about that cage match thing is because so much of the weird wrestling in Canada happens in the northern parts of the provinces, which is like native Canadian reservations.
Yeah. What do you mean by weird wrestling?
So weird wrestling is like.
Is there the Weird Wrestling Federation?
Yeah, I mean there might as well be. It's just like it's the kind of shows that are just like they're not even like there's no like 3 letters. It's just like live pro wrestling. And you know what I mean? So it's just like there's a guy who's been doing tours up there for like 40 years, and every so often I'll go up there and do one with him. Like I wrestled like Tito Santana on an Indian reservation. Oh. And like it's just like weird, like you know what I mean? This weird shit like that. Like he was like 65, and I'm like trying to work with him and stuff, and it was awesome. Like it was super fun. But like you'll see strange matches like that where it's just like this old legend will come in, like Mr. Wonderful. Paul Orndorff wrestled his last match in like a small town in Manitoba because he was like it was just like last year, like he just came in like he was like wearing like his Zubaz and stuff, and they were like, we're short a guy, would you like mind being part of our 6-man? And he was like, yeah, fuck it, let's do it. So but like just strange things like that will happen, you know what I mean? And it's like that's the way I describe it, as weird. It's the only way to describe it. It's just weird wrestling.
But there's still money in it, I guess, for the promoters, or are they just doing it for the fun of it?
No, I mean like I would assume he's got to be making something off of it. Like there's like,
why would you like travel around for 30 days?
It's not fun. Yeah, that's the thing. You say the fun of it, but it's really not that fun most of the time, especially from the promoting side, I'm sure. But it's like, I mean, we had like Ron Simmons on, and he's a big name, like you know what I mean. Even today, like he's still very like a very valuable name, but we went in the summertime, and that's always a gamble, and the houses weren't that good, you know what I mean. So it's Canada is very affected by like what season it is. Like, wintertime, great. There's nothing to do.
Yeah, because
it's cold as hell. You know what I mean?
Nobody's going anywhere. So
absolutely. That's when we had Jake Robertson, and he hated it, but it was great though. But like, every house was phenomenal with him. So
it's so cool. Like that's
I
such a
feel
strange
like
world.
I miss so many names going through the list. Do you have any more like illustrious names you could drop?
Two-Court Scorpio, Tito Santana, Absolute Andy.
yeah, I tagged with a honky tonk man. I don't think I thought about
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's a weird name because it's like for you guys it's like probably like a big rib, but for us like he's just there all the time. Like he's always like he's there. There was a period where he was there because he was just like friends with the promoter, and so he'd come in for a really good rate, and he would just come and it was funny because like when he first came, you would see like him getting like older and lazier every time he came. Like he would like shake, rattle, and roll.
What
and
a
then
pro.
And then next time he came, shake, rattle, and roll turned into shake, rattle, and roll onto his knees. And then shake, rattle, and roll turned into just like whipping the guy down. And I remember like I tagged with him and I was like brand new. I was probably only like a year in at this point. And I was like, this is going to be good. Like I'll watch this. And like I hadn't seen him in person.
Yeah.
But he's always here, so he must be good. And I remember just being on the apron, just being like, "Holy shit, this guy sucks, man! Like, this is like he's throwing these weak, like he's from the WWF in the '80s, and he's throwing these wimpy little like rabbit punches things." And I was like, "Okay," like I'm on the airplane, trying to get him, honky tonk man, like.
The first ever European wrestling show I saw that was 2005. He was on that show.
Really?
Yeah.
Tremendous.
He wrestled Ares. I guess you know Ares if you've been a WXW fan. He's a multiple
Ares.
WXW champion.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
ARES. Yeah.
But that was pretty cool but that's already 15 years ago. So
Yeah, that's
really
like
think
15
about it, yeah.
years ago.
Yeah, well,
he was
it's-
old then.
Yeah, and that's kind of an alarming thing too. Is that when I think about shows that I went to as a kid, and being like, that guy's not that old. I just saw him like 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, well, he's probably a little older now, I guess.
Like there was this nice picture on social media a couple of days back when Francis met Absolute Andy for the first time, and he was Francis just a kid in the row, like
that's
trying
right.
to.
I actually saw that picture. That's
It's
pretty
wonderful.
incredible. Yeah. I'm actually really glad that none of the footage from me at like wrestling shows has surfaced and like
Yeah, we have a good generation.
yeah, because I was also a really shitty fan too, and I have no problem admitting that. Like
so you were a smartass or?
yeah, 100%. Like
Putting
I was
yourself over, huh?
100%. Yeah, and that's if I had been watching if I'd been wrestling in front of myself, I would have spat in my face. I was so obnoxious and so annoying. I'm so glad that none of that footage has come up because the guys would hate to see that from me.
Well, it's good that you can change.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone
It's
can
a good
change.
thing.
Everyone can change.
So excuse those wonderful sounds in the background. Lucky Kid's giving a
We're
shoot
not
style.
even sure if you can hear it. But
Yeah, but there's Lucky Kid doing a shoot style seminar,
Yeah.
just choking people out for no reason.
Just
You know, Lucky.
Boss, yeah. Just being like,
Have you ever seen a seminar where the trainer demanded to have an entrance?
you know what? That was the first time I'd ever seen that, and I was pretty blown away by it. He came out and he did it like he had like his robe on and stuff, which I thought was strange for a seminar.
Yeah, like
but,
really, right?
Yeah, like
Kind of douchey.
yeah. He went to the ring. They had lights and everything, and
They even announced him as 6-carat gold winner.
yeah. Wasn't that strange? I
Wrestled
don't
Ring
know.
of Honor last week.
I mean, he's talented though, so I get it. You know,
Yeah,
if he
like-
wants those things, he can ask for them,
Yeah, sure.
and he did. So.
We love you, Lucky.
Also, have you ever seen just Rainer Ringer throwing a bag of milk through the whole room?
That was great too.
But speaking about all
Rainer
those,
Ringer.
no. Speaking about all those like accomplishments, like what are your goals? Like
What are your favorite Lucky Kid accomplishments?
yeah, top 5 Lucky Kid accomplishments. No, but like, is there anything like where you have yourself set a goal that you want to achieve, or like is WWE a goal for you, or
No, not really, honestly.
are you waiting for OWE to explode?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
go back
I'm
there?
waiting for the call back from them. No, I aside from my accomplishments of tagging with the Honky Tonk Man, WWE, like obviously I'd be a liar to be like, oh, I would never go there. Of course I would go there, but it's just that's never really been my focus, I guess. Like for me, it's always been I've always just wanted to be a touring wrestler of Japan. That's always what I've always wanted to do. Like I came up as a big indie fan in high school and stuff, but I was also a huge like pro wrestling fan too. Like Noah was my shit when I was in high school. I watched that all. That would be like my dream would be to tour with Noah, which seems kind of silly because they're kind of on a smaller scale right now. But just for my own personal goals, that would be a big one for me. And but really any Japanese promotion, just because I've always been such a huge fan of that style of wrestling. But I'm also in a position now where it's like I make a living like almost entirely from wrestling, which is like always been a goal for me too. Is just that I don't have to do anything else really. Like I have a part-time job just training back home whenever I'm there, but they're very flexible with me and cool with me just kind of bouncing for, hey, I'm going to go to Germany for a month, hey, I'm going to go to China for 2 months, and that's fine. So right now I'm living a goal that I set for myself, which is just to be a wrestler and not have to worry about a real job or anything else like that. You know what I mean?
How was your family down with that?
So they were like my parents are both like from like a rural town, like different, but they're like right next to each other. So they're very much like small town folk, and it was really weird to them to try to explain like, hey, I'm gonna like pursue this non-money making venture. You know what I mean? At least at the very beginning, right? Where it's just like I'm gonna throw away like the idea of going to university and getting a job and having a family and everything just to chase this thing. And I think that they probably knew that I was so obsessed with wrestling that there had to be something to this. Like I wouldn't, for how much I loved it, there had to be a goal in mind and stuff. But I think that it was not until I came here the first time that they were like, oh, this could be like a real thing for you. You know what I mean? Where it's like you're being invited to go somewhere like very, very far away on someone else's dollar, and China kind of solidified that too. Where it's like, so. You know, it's like this is like a. I
think nothing could be further away from most rural people, right?
Yeah, exactly. The idea that I'm going to literally the other side of the world to do something that I love to do and be paid to do it and all that stuff, right? So I think that they've kind of like they've always been supportive, always from the very first show. They've been to shows and they always come down and they bring their friends and all that great stuff. But I think now they kind of understand that it's like, oh, this is like I kind of get it a little more.
Yeah.
Because my brother's the electrician. I'm the black sheep. He's an electrician with his own house and his own car and all that shit, and I'm just like, I live in his basement. So
I'm pretty sure in wrestling you always find the black sheep of the family.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Could be.
Obviously. Look at us.
There's something there, yeah.
Like every fucking weekend, like if people ask, like, oh, you want to come by at the weekend? Nope. I am driving 7 hours somewhere.
You're not booked that much lately, so
that's true.
Come up with this.
You should have a social life now.
Yeah, that's shit.
You should, if you have.
I should take this more serious now.
Yeah, it's your own fault.
Yeah.
So to wrap things up, we still have our blown up Spotify playlist.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, because we haven't been on the air for fucking 2 months. Thank you, Shooter. I almost forgot.
Sorry, I moved.
Do you have any song you want to put on our playlist? Any recommendations for the people to listen?
Anything, whatever you think people should listen to.
Should be on Spotify, but
yeah.
Oh, I don't have Spotify, so I don't know what's on there. But
try it out.
They have everything.
What am I even listening to?
Sponsor us.
Yeah. You know what I'm listening to right now is like I have a very like I guess eclectic taste you can call it, but there's a band like a genre for me that was really big was like death metal coming up when I was a kid. So there's a band from Montreal called Outre Tombe, which is French for out of tomb, and they are I just kind of got turned on to them. They're phenomenal. So anybody who likes like that kind of style of music that sounds like death or autopsy or whatever, they should really check that one out.
I'm very happy that we will have death metal on this list finally.
I was really hoping for some Fozzy.
I always recommend to not listen to Fozzy.
Yeah, they suck.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not crazy about them.
So don't sponsor us.
Yeah, Fozzy.
Okay, fuck it. So in general, like when we are away from the wrestling topic, are there some, I don't know, movies, series people should watch you can recommend? Because you're on the road a lot, I think you watch Netflix or whatever.
Yeah, I've been watching Mindhunter. That's like a Netflix one that it's very very slow. It's like they're interviewing all the serial killers.
Is it the Unabomber? Is the first season?
I think it's the BTK guy. I think.
Okay, then
I think that's what they're leading to at least. But anyway, it's a nice slow relaxed show that I can watch at night and I don't have to like get myself all fired up to watch it. You know what I mean? I go to bed right afterwards. For movies, I just watched the Joker movie and I fucking loved that one. I was really into it.
I've seen it 2 days ago.
Yeah.
I was like really dragged into it, and I had like really 2 uncomfortable hours.
Yeah.
But the film was.
I want to watch it next week.
I thought it was really really good, and I think I'd watch it again probably before it leaves theaters. Is it?
It's not in English here in Dresden. I'm a little bit annoyed about that. You mostly have to wait 2 or 3 weeks till they.
So it's like dubbed over? Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I wouldn't watch it that way probably, but.
Yeah, because you don't speak German.
Well, I would never. Me personally, I personally wouldn't watch that because I don't know what they're saying. But
That would be stupid.
yeah, but no, if anybody hasn't seen it, I won't say anything about it. But I really did love that movie, and I think that everybody should go see it.
Just a couple of days back, I listened to the theme of Making a Murderer. Yeah, Making a Murderer, and that's a great opening theme.
I never watched that one actually.
Me neither, but I listened to the theme.
Pretty
Pretty cool. Sounds a little Game of Thrones-y.
I'll give that a try then.
So, thank you very much
Hey man.
for the time.
Yeah. Was an entertaining 45 minutes or
We had like
so.
7 hours to kill here, so it's not
That's
really
true.
a big deal.
And there's just so much milk you can throw. And we're back from the conversation with Tyler Colton, the Canadian Hercules, the strongman, the last of a dying breed. And Robert, we're still sitting here at the Lucky Kid seminar. Have you learned something?
Since we're taping this right after the introduction, nothing really happened, so thanks for asking. But
Oh, wait. He's talking right now to one of the guys. I think he's saying just to punch somebody in the face for some reason. What the fuck, Lucky? Why are you...
I think you, a little bit overdoing this Lucky Kid thing. Could you just stop? He's such a nice guy. Maybe he could give you a break in Ring of Honor now, so...
So, and with this unnecessary rip against Lucky Kid, thank you very much for listening to Blown Up. We are back. We will be back more now. I hope so. Now we can...
Well, I would say don't make any
promises that we
don't
cannot
make
keep.
any promises,
Yeah, that's
Shooter
true.
Schultz, because we know there's a possibility of you screwing up again and leaving people without their most beloved podcast for another 2 months.
Yeah, sorry for that, guys. That was partly my fault, partly Robert's fault.
And partly Lucky Kid was involved as well.
See you next time. Bye.